Hello YouTube, I'm Peggy Lu Who, and this is my channel, Peggy Lu Who Reads, or Peggy Lu Who Reads. Welcome if you are new here, welcome back if you are not. I want to start off with a special shout out and much gratitude to my, as of recording this, 42 magic number subscribers, especially my supreme subscriber and #1 fan, Yaate Shima. So yeah, this happened. You like? If so, leave a comment down below. If you don't, you can keep that shit to yourself because there's enough negativity in the world. Mom. This is going to be my wrap up for both September and October. I kept putting off doing these because the way that I've been doing this is where I just ramble about every book. It took so long to record those and to edit them, and it just really made me not want to do it. So I'm doing a couple of things differently. First off, I scripted this, and I'm using my laptop as a teleprompter because I'm fucking fancy like that. Secondly, I'm going to try and keep each book's commentary under 2 minutes. If there's one of these books you'd like to see a more in-depth review of, let me know down in the comments and I'll see what I can do. While you're down there, like, subscribe, notifications, blah, 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 yada, yada, yakety snackety. Let's do this. First off, I finished Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montal, which I gave 3 out of 5 thought-terminating cliches. I checked out this book as an ebook from my library. It was an interesting book, a nonfiction about how cults use language, and the introduction of the idea of a thought-terminating cliche was one of the concepts that really stuck with me. So thought-terminating cliche is just sort of like a cliche that someone says to you that sort of stops you from further questioning. But it didn't really go as deep as I would have liked. I was glad to see that the author made the connection to MLMs, which are multi-level marketings, because they do seem to use some of the same language and tactics as some cults. No, I'm not saying Amway is a cult. Don't come for me. Next, I finished The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, which I gave 3 out of 5 sunflowers. It's a novel about a social worker from a government agency that manages institutions and facilities that house magical children, and his visit to a particularly unusual orphanage. I read this as an audiobook from my library, and it was okay, but I didn't like it as much as a lot of other people seem to have, and I think that might have been because I listened to it as an audiobook. I heard Emily Fox say on her channel that she also read as an audiobook, and she called out the voices that the reader does for the kids, and she wasn't wrong. They're kind of great. Maybe I would have liked it better if I had read it as like a physical copy or an ebook, but I'm not drawn to it enough to make me want to try it again. Next up was The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers, which I gave 3 out of 5 urban legends. This is another one that I had from the library, this one as an ebook. It seems like secret or magical circuses are a thing now. And although this is ostensibly about a secret magical circus, very little of the story happens in and around the circus itself. Most of the main action takes place within a small town in Virginia where the secret circus has never appeared. It's more of a murder mystery, really, than a circus fantasy. So I didn't really care for it as much because I am really into the secret magical circus trope. I think I would have liked it a lot more if it had been more about the circus. Another ebook from the library was The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 messages written in blood. This is a horror story about a teenage boy who is not only one of the few Black students at his prep school, he's also a gay boy and a medium who sees ghosts. Many of the ghosts are stuck in loops of their deaths, so he's just seeing the ghosts, die over and over again. It's a short book that goes really fast, and he ends up being haunted by the ghost of a boy who committed a shooting at another school. It's pretty gory and a little creepy, but not totally scary. Otherwise, I don't really remember much about it, and I lowered my rating once I realized that. Like, if it didn't make an impact, then it couldn't have been that good. But it wasn't bad. Next up, I finally finished reading My own words, by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which I gave 2 out of 5 lacy collars. Obviously, this took me way too long to finish, and honestly, it was pretty repetitive. It didn't follow a narrative. It's made up mostly of articles and transcripts of speeches that she gave during her life, and many of them reference the same few cases. I would have liked a straight memoir or biography more. From there, I got into some of the books I was looking forward to reading for Spookython. First up was The Maidens by Alex Mikeldes, which I gave 1 out of 5 incompetent therapists. I don't really know where to start with this, but it's supposed to involve a secret society, but they're really just a clique of one-dimensional young women who crush on this one particular professor. The lead character, Mariana, is supposed to be this really good therapist, which we're told over and over again, but she acts like she has no particular insight into people or their motivations. The twist was 100% what the fuck. The only thing that I actually liked about it was the scenes set in places around Cambridge that I'm familiar with. Next, I read The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, which I gave 1 out of 5 taxidermy deer heads. It was another ebook from the library, and basically it's about a group of women who are in a support group who were the final girl who survived mass killings and that were the inspirations for what became well-known slasher films most of us know. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like that these people who had supposedly been supporting each other for years seemed to really detest one another. I didn't like the POV character. I didn't like the characterization of mental illness. Basically, all the killers were just psycho. I did not finish this book. I DNF'd it. It sucked. Then next up on my list was House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland, which I gave 2 out of 5 flowers that smell bad. I really was enjoying the first half of this book, even though I did pick up on the twist pretty early on, which I usually hate. The writing was engaging. I liked the fact that the 3 main characters, the sisters, were also different and distinct, though they had a close relationship. I just didn't like the ending, and it was dissatisfying enough that it made me kind of made it so I didn't like it. Like the whole book. Now we get to this book, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielski. This book, which I gave 2 out of 5 cameras. This book is another one that I would say didn't live up to what was described. It has a story within a story element, which I normally love, where there's a main narrative told by an old man who's died, and the manuscript is found by a younger man who then edits it and adds footnotes, some of which tell his own story unrelated to the main narrative. This is just one stupid gimmick after another. For example, it includes parts that you have to hold up to a mirror to read. But then you find out that those parts aren't really important or necessary to either one of the 2 narratives. Like, it's just there to make you do it. Like, what I've said the most about this book since I read it was, if this book were a TV character, it would be the guy from Mad TV who's always like, look what I can do. It's basically just showing off. And it's not even showing off anything fun or cool. It's just tedious dude bro shit. Next from my favorite bookshelf is The Complete Tales and Poems of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, which I of course gave 5 out of 5 honeypots. This is not the exact book that I had read as a child. I had a collection of these tiny booklets that were each of the chapters included in this book. So the way that the books of Winnie the Pooh are, this is all of them, but the way that they worked, it was that each book had chapters that the chapters were individual stories, complete stories, so short stories. And so as a child, I had these little booklets, and I remember them being scattered all around me as I was playing and reading. This was when I was really little, probably about 5 years old. The best thing about this series is that it's so well written for children and speaks to the reader who is ostensibly a child, but without speaking down to the reader, but in terms that the reader would understand. And like all the best things that are made for children, there's plenty of little things for the adult who's watching or listening or reading with the child. I enjoyed reading it aloud to myself, especially Pooh's songs, and I realized that I frequently invent little songs to myself about what I'm doing, and this may be where I got that from. Another from my favorite bookshelf, I finished The Devil in the White City, Murder, Magic, and Madness at the Fair That Changed America by Eric Larson. I gave it 5 out of 5 Ferris wheels. This is the one about the Chicago World's Fair and the murderer H.H. Holmes. Rereading this was great because there were a lot of fascinating details that I had forgotten about the fair and the lives of the people of Chicago at the time. And it helped me to remember why I like Eric Larson's writing so much, as he writes history like it's a novel, and the way he juxtaposes his stories really draws me into the events he's describing of a deeper level than many other histories I've read. And last, I finished Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, which I gave 1 out of 5 chandeliers. Because you're only going to not see the twist coming a mile off if you've never seen a house before and know nothing about them. This also is just really chock full of cliches and trite language. And it's another with a story within a story where the main character's narrative is juxtaposed against the narrative of her father, who wrote a supposedly true account of her childhood in this house. And I'm so mad that these 2 books managed to ruin that storytelling device that I usually really enjoy. And again, it sucked. So those are all the books I read in September and October. I'm still working on my fall TBR and some books for a couple of buddy reads and book clubs, things that I'm trying to do. And once I get a little closer to finishing that list of books, I'll do another TBR video. So what did you think about this more scripted, concise Peggy Lu? Did you like it better when I was just rambling? Leave a comment and let me know. And until next time, read well.